In animation, especially mostly Disney and Pixar, we see this common trend of people of color being transformed or turned into animals. Now, usually this is for the purpose of maybe like learning a life lesson or tapping in more with your humanity or just learning to appreciate like what's in front of you, right? And I wouldn't have much of a problem with it if it was done to like all characters across the skin tones and races equally. However, it is not. But we see examples of this in like Lance Sterling, who was turned into a pigeon. We see this with Cusco for The Emperor's New Groove. We see this with Kenai from Brother Bear, Mei Ling turning red. Like they're really, at this point, they're covering like the whole spectrum of races. And of course, the most egregious example is Tiana from Princess and the Frog. So in 2020, when Pixar released Soul, a lot of people had, or it seems, because the internet can make something seem bigger than what it is, but a lot of people, mostly Black, felt that this movie was a slap in the face. It was absolutely disrespectful. Here we go again, doing this to people of color. You know, of course, another Black person. All of our Black characters are being turned into something else. And I was like, oh, hell no. Like, I'm not supporting this. What? Not on my watching, Anla. Not on my watch. Like,
not on my watch. Not on my watch.
Like, I was like, okay, I'm not supporting this movie. Absolutely not. Like, here we go again. I'm not about to sit here like, okay, with Princess Tiana, it was a Black woman and now it's a Black man. So now I would really be able to relate. Now I really don't want to experience that a second time. So it's just like, no, not for me. It wasn't until one day, a subscriber of mine commented on one of my posts and asked me what my thoughts on the movie Soul was. And I told them that I never watched it. I only heard things. And they asked me, well, if you ever do watch it, you know, I would love to know what you think. I'm like, okay. Well, guess what? I can't remember who you were, but shout out to you, because instead of just me responding on the post, here's a whole video. So I finally watched the movie in 2024, so just last year. And it was nothing like the internet told me it would be. Like, I was absolutely lied to. So I'm going to say this now. I actually liked the movie. It was not a perfect movie. It was a little long, but I actually enjoyed the movie. I thought the animation was beautiful. In some aspects, it kind of felt like, with the different worlds, like it kind of felt like eclectic to me. Like I thought it was beautifully done. And yes, I did appreciate a Black male lead. I did appreciate that. Not gonna lie, that's not the reason why I watched it, but I do appreciate that. But I'll cover 3 main issues that I saw people complaining about, and we're just going to go over each of those issues and just kind of talk about them, and I'll give you my perspective on them. Number 1, they're dehumanizing Joe. First of all, do I, as a Black man, absolutely despise the idea of a Black person changing into an animal for any reason? No, actually, I have no issues with that whatsoever. Again, like I said, it's the fact that it only happens to BIPOC and people of color. That's pretty much it. Like, if it was done, like I said, if it was done across the shades, no problem whatsoever. But in this movie, I don't feel this was that. I don't feel this was a negative thing. People try to compare this to Tiana and how
oh, she, it's just as bad. He was turned into, something less than human.
And I'm thinking this is Joe's soul. Like, what do you expect a soul to look like? Like, I feel like Joe wasn't dehumanized at all. I feel like maybe it's the art. Maybe it's the art direction that people have an issue with. People say that he's a blob thing. Well, first of all, They all look like that. They all look like that in the movie. I forget what the before world is called, but like all of them look like that. So it was a design choice by Pixar, I believe, to make it more child friendly. And when it comes to a soul or a spirit, I feel like it could be interpreted in many different ways. Like, I feel like people would have still complained if it was like an ethereal Joe. Like, he was still human, but like it was like kind of like a translucent kind of looking Joe. Maybe they wouldn't have complained. They would have complained. Still, like, it's not comparable to Tiana at all. Tiana is not a frog at heart. She's a person. Whereas Joe, the fact that he has a soul, he is a soul, and comes from, like every other soul, from the human, or from a world of souls that distributes them to humans. Like, that shows that he is a human, and it shows his humanity, right? And it also coincides with his soul and his state of being and what he wants out of life. Like, his whole story is very, very much a human experience, all the way down to the concept of the soul that reflects him. Now, with Tiana, like I said, she's not a frog. That frog's body and vessel was used, or that body was used as a vessel to learn to appreciate your life. That to me is a huge difference. Like, he's still recognized as a person. He's still recognized as a human being. Like, when you strip down the color of our skin, the texture of our hair, the clothes we wear, when you strip all of that down and you get to the bare bones, how different are we really? You know what I'm saying? Like, how different are we really? So a blob, to me, that's not a bad concept, because when you strip all of us down and we don't have those outer things that make our physical us, then yeah, we're probably gonna look like a blob or something. Yeah, they gave him like his glasses and his hat, but I feel like that was a design choice for the viewers to realize, or to recognize, that this is Joe Gardner, right? So yeah, I'm not going with the BS narrative at all that this is like Tiana, because it really isn't. It's really not. Like, Joe was still Joe. It was just he was stripped to his essence. Tiana's essence is not a frog. Number 2. This didn't feel like a black movie at all. So some people feel like this movie was out of touch with black culture, right? It was out of touch with blackness. And I have a hard time really understanding what people mean by that. Because to me, I thought they did a really good job. We had the jazz, which is black AF. You know, we had jazz music. We had the barbershop scenes. We had the black auntie stereotype. We had Felicia Rashad, who is everybody's black mom. You know, I don't I feel like what did you want? If you're black, what did you want out of this movie? Because to me, when I look at this and people are complaining, it's like, and I know it wasn't just black people complaining, it was other people complaining for us, but it's like, what do you want? Do you want like struggle? Do you want like dangerous police encounters, like police harassment? Do you want like his jeans sagging? Do you want him calling other black people in the movie the N-word? Like, do you want the movie to have like a cookout scene? Like 9 kids, 10 baby mamas? Is that even possible? Yeah, I don't know. But the point is, what do you want out of this? Like, I feel like they worked so hard on this, and I felt the black elements, right? I could relate to it as a black person, but it's just like, what all were you expecting? Like, should there have been like a rap scene, or like, like I just genuinely don't understand, right? And I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me how people are complaining that this didn't capture black culture at all. we don't need black stereotypes. Like, the movie is already relatable on its own, and the elements of black culture, I thought were nicely done. They were very nicely done. And I feel like people wanted this movie to be a day in the life of the average black man, and it's not. And I'm glad that it's not. This movie is about existentialism. It's about finding your purpose. It's about living your life. It's about not letting life pass you by. And that's a story, and that is a human experience that goes across all shades, right? And it just happened to be, the story happened to be told through the body and life of a black male character, right? So I'm not really sure why people felt this need to be just blackety black because we black, y'all. Like, it didn't need to be that. It wasn't supposed to be that. And I'm glad they didn't make it that way. There were elements of black culture, but it wasn't overdone. And the blackness in the movie wasn't at the forefront. And I love that. I want more of that. I want more movies featuring black leads where there are elements of black culture, right? But it's not all you are. Like, yes, this person or these people are black, but that's not all there is to their existence, right? There's other stuff going on that anybody in the world can relate to. I love that Joe was pursuing musicianship. I absolutely love that. You know, typically, and there's nothing wrong with these things, but typically when it comes to a black male character, it's about rap music, it's about basketball, you know, it's about football or some kind of sports. It's the same thing over and over and over again. And I liked him being a musician. There was a breath of fresh air. I love the way they did it. You know, it felt black without being overboard. You could still relate to the story without feeling like, oh, well, if you're black, then you're not going to get it. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate that. Number 3, 22 is a white savior. Okay, so this one is a little more nuanced. So number 22 is a sexless, genderless soul that has been around for a very, very, very long time, literally since the beginning of humanity, has been around for a very, very long time. And therefore, in order to be someone, you have to be born on Earth and be born into a human body. So therefore, number 22 doesn't have any demographics, right? However, because of a joke that was made in the film about 22's voice, and because of the actress being Tina Fey, a white woman, I do understand why people code 22 as a white female character. I do understand that. People complained that Joe, a black male, needed the help of 22, a white female, to learn how to live his life and do better in his life. And they feel like it was almost like a form of blackface. And I'm like, okay, this is absolutely ridiculous. Blackface? Like, are you serious? Blackface? So people have an issue with 22 being in Joe's body. Now, you can view it that way. I personally don't view it that way. If you really want to go there and make it about race, I see it as the movie helps to show non-black people the humanity of black people and how we're not really that different from anybody else. Like, we have normal human experiences. We go through these same exact things. We deserve the same amount of respect and dignity. And one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie is when they were having that philosophical discussion in the barbershop. I absolutely love that, because I feel like the stereotype would be like, oh, black people won't want to talk about something like that. We don't talk about deep philosophical stuff. Like, you know, what is that? Like, no, like, I love how the characters in the movie were so receptive to that kind of conversation. And it was so normalized. It just felt like it was a common thing. Like, oh yeah, like, yeah, let's get into it. Yeah, this is good. Like, I loved that. I love that. I just think that if you really want to go there with it, like, I feel like it shows the white viewers our humanity, right? While 22 is finding a reason to start living, Joe is constantly assessing his own life and the meaning of his journey and where everything lies and where his values are. So they come together as a team, although initially they didn't intend for it to be that way because, they were both self-serving characters who just did things for their own desires, right? But towards the end of the movie, they actually work together. And that is a very common thing in Pixar films. And this is very important. Pixar has always, since the time that they came out, Pixar has always had this concept of friendship, ties, brotherhood, even frenemies coming together to face the world together. Even though what you're going through might be a little bit different, it shows that two sides can come together and save the day. You know what I mean? Let's take it back to Toy Story. Before I go there, people say oh,
well, Joe was the main character, so Joe should get the spotlight at all times, and 22 shouldn't have
anything. And I'm just like, 22 is a deuteragonist. They're a main character as well. Yes, Joe is the main character, but 22 is pretty darn close too. So when we look at other Pixar movies, Toy Story, Woody is obviously the main character. Buzz is like 22, like right here, right? There's that concept of two sides coming together, whether it's friends, brotherhood, anything like that, coming together to save the day. Another example, Marlin / Nemo, and then Dory from Finding Nemo. Two sides, Marlin and Nemo, well, mostly Nemo is the main character. Well, Marlin is too, and then we have Dory, who's like right there. So, and even she even gets her own movie. Two sides, two totally different stories, two totally different backgrounds of characters coming together. Lightning McQueen and Mater. I feel like there's so many other examples. Eve and Wally. Are there any others? Mike and Sully. So this is not some evil racist conspiracy against black people. This is something that Pixar has always done in their animated films. And this is no different. Now we have Joe and 22. And I'm pretty sure whatever the next Pixar movie will be, will probably have that same core theme in there because most of their movies do. So in closing, I feel like a lot of people walked into the theater already with like their negative shades on to look for things that are bad, when really I feel like people in general have to stop doing that. We have to stop assuming that there's going to be something bad, because if you go in there looking for something, you're setting your psyche and your mind up to find things that may not even be there. And I feel like that's what happened with this movie, and I'm ashamed that I let the internet lie to me and make me think that this movie was absolute trash. This movie was a really good movie. I enjoyed it. It's a good movie. I don't think it was an insult at all to black people. I feel like they actually worked really hard to capture black culture in a way to where it's relatable, but also so it doesn't alienate people from the main topic of the film, which is existentialism. You know, it wasn't so overdone with the blackness that, you know, now the movie feels like it's about that. You know what I'm saying? So I really appreciate that. Tell me what you think about the movie. Did you feel like any aspects were negative? Were there any positive things that you liked? Do you feel like people were too harsh on this movie? Do you feel like people's criticisms were right about this movie? Let me know in the comment section below. I appreciate it. Also, don't forget to like the video, help a brother out. So yeah, until next time, take care.
you.